Anchor is the easiest way to make a podcast. It gives you everything you need in one place for free, which you can use right from your phone or computer. Creation tools allow you to record and edit your podcast so it sounds great. They'll even distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard everywhere: Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and many more. You can easily make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership.
But also I'm a creator, an entrepreneur, a lifetime entrepreneur, and I create, I compose, I write books, I do a lot of different things. And so there's so much to, material when you're doing that, and you're an entertainer. So of course there's multiple streams of income, and I'm big on that, to be.
Awesome, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of It Is What It Is podcast, the best podcast. If you don't know, you know now where it is, because I have amazing people, amazing guests like the one I have today with Deborah Johnson, and we're going to get into it and see what makes it her. But if you want to keep seeing, I keep saying this, you want to keep seeing amazing people, amazing influencers and leaders, you got to do a few things. Connect me on Instagram at CBMK33. Follow the business page at CBMK_global. Go to the website where the best health supplements are, www.cbmkglobal.store. Get your baddie on today. Go to the website and subscribe to the YouTube page, YouTube at CV_K, where all great content is seen, heard, and felt. I have an amazing episode. Look, let me tell you, before I introduce people, I want to tell, when you're a small-time podcaster like myself, I don't have a planning person that goes out and reaches out to guests. I have to actually go, write the email, do the whole thing and pray that I don't, get cussed out in the process, right? So that's how it goes. I asked, she was like, definitely just amazing. I'm super excited. She is super talented. Deborah is just, a walking LinkedIn profile by herself. I mean, so many different things, and we're going to go into it because she has an amazing story, an amazing journey to share. With that being said, how are you doing today?
I am doing so good. It's just always a pleasure, and I like to say yes as much as I can. So it's really fun to be here with you today.
Thank you. I appreciate that from the bottom of my heart. Look, I want to get into it. So the problem with talent is that people always tell you to pick a lane. Like you can't sell cheeseburgers and tacos, but aren't both food items? And, and I get it because, you want a specific niche and a specific focus. You don't want to be, what do they say? Jack of all trades and a master of none. So you have to now reduce your life to one thing, right?
Right.
But you have managed to be successful in many different areas by not following this traditional rule of thumb. Why did you go against the grain?
It's interesting. Well, plus I see needs in different areas, and I've expanded my platform because I've reinvented my life, I think, so many times. So when you kind of go through a number of years and, you're in the gig economy and you see where the, where the trends are and where to go and where your strengths are, that's, how I've basically expanded my platform. But also I'm a creator, an entrepreneur, a lifetime entrepreneur, and I create, I compose, I write books, I do a lot of different things. And so there's so much to, material when you're doing that, and you're an entertainer. So of course there's multiple streams of income, and I'm big on that, to be able to do that with your residuals and all of that. So it just takes a lot of a balancing act. And I've always said, I'm not just haven't just picked one lane. I kind of have a highway, here, but they're all pretty much going to the same direction. So that's, I have a purpose. And so they're all kind of connected in many ways. So I don't feel, like I'm, all, too spread out too much.
That makes sense. So, I mean, you hit a few things that I really stuck to me. You said, like, I don't have a lane, I have a highway, but they're all going to the same destination. So on this highway, how do you make a path? Or maybe that's the wrong mindset. How, when you were constructing this highway, did you ever get to a point where you felt like people just don't understand? Like, they don't understand what I'm trying to do. Like, do you ever feel like somebody was like, you're just doing too much? Because, like, for me, it's like, obviously I have my, job and whatnot, and thank God for that. And I enjoy this space, and it's like, I can walk and chew gum, and I don't allow one to destroy the other. How did you build a highway that had, or maybe seemingly didn't have any accidents?
Oh, there's accidents. You got to be willing to fail. You've got to be willing for projects to not work and taking risks. I mean, that's one of the, done is better than perfect. And so you have to be able to, put things out and see sometimes just what's working and what's working the best, and then prune back. So, you're going to have little detours along the way. And I definitely have. And, but when I'm big on your core values. And so, and you need to reevaluate these. I say it's very important to reevaluate them at least yearly. But what do you really stand for? Because your personal and your professional are really connected together. So I think that all fits together in putting together your, whatever you have, a lane or a highway, and don't feel guilty if you have a lane. I mean, I think a lane works great. And I've been told that, especially when I got into the business of speaking, to pick a lane, just pick it, and be so narrow. And I have really narrowed that down in my message and in what my audience is. But I am still in a lot of other areas with the same purpose. But I've got other areas of my business and an expanded audience. I don't know if that made sense totally. That was a long way to say it, but
no, that makes sense. One of the things that I really kind of stood out was done is better than perfect.
Right.
Because I think we're all guilty of, whether we admit it or not, like, not just the need to impress, but the need for validation.
Right.
And we don't consider the fact that the validation is in the fact that you did it, regardless of who applauded, who didn't applaud, who showed up, who didn't show up. You did it, right? But like, I think it's the applause factor or the likes. We're in the social media era. The clickbait, the likes, the shares. That's how we measure our value and effectiveness, and that's a wrong metric, right? I think that's a very toxic metric. So I like that. I'm actually going to tweet. I was trying to tweet it while you were talking, but I was like, let me not be weird. I was going to tweet it saying,
oh my gosh, you'd be able to do that.
Yeah. Done is being better than being perfect. Look, you're a composer, so I don't have a lot of musical talent. Honest confession. I come from a musical family, grew up in church. Mom was over the choir, so like they had the talent. I was just kind of there. And, so like when I hear music, like I enjoy it, but I just can't like perform it, maybe because I just didn't practice it enough. Like I enjoyed practicing other things, and I'm sure there's a discipline that's attached to that. Right. So tell me about composing Grammy-winning music. Like I don't even know how you do it. And then what is that process like?
Wow. Well, writing is rewriting. And it doesn't matter if you write a song, if you write a book, whatever you write, a musical. I've written musicals. But it is, it's the creative process. You hear about these people just write songs. Oh, it just came to me. But usually that is not the case. It's usually, thoughts that have kind of been stewing around and baking for a number of years, or even, it doesn't matter. But you write those little thoughts down, and it's a craft. So I don't know if there's any, there's no exact science to it, and what's going to be, cut through, and what's going to mean a lot to people, and all of that. So, but I think you just need to stay true to yourself, and you get better as you write. You have to just write. And when people say, well, how do I learn to write a song, or how do I learn to write, a book? I just never learned how to do that. Well, you got to start writing, and then get somebody to help you, and write some more and write some more. And I think that's the process, because I've written a lot of bad songs, and songs that nobody will ever hear, or I have books, or whole notebooks of lyrics and ideas and sketches of things that I'll never put out, and my kids will find them someday, and they'll, it'll go in the dumpster. So, but it's just, it's just what it is, that is just what it is. So that's the title of this podcast. What it
right, it is what it is, right?
It is what it is. That's the reality.
It can become an NFT, you take.
That's right. Oh yeah.
Right, and then resell it, repurpose it. So
Right.
you talk about being a creator. Something that has happened to me is, and I don't know if you've ever had this feeling, I always feel like I'm gonna run out of questions. I'm gonna run out of gas. I'm gonna run out of topics to cover. I'm gonna run out of material. And I'm trying to stay true to myself, because there's things I'm comfortable discussing. There's things I'm not comfortable discussing. There's things that are outside of my expertise. I'm not a doctor, so I would never do a medical diagnosis on anything. So I try to stay just kind of what makes me unique in this space. But even in that, I have writer's block, or creator's block, I should say. And there's the fear that, could this be my last episode? Could, what I'm like in the back of my head, how do I know, how do I get up? How do I make the joke stick? How do I make the pun work? How do I, all these things that just are kind of like you said, they're just kind of mustering around, and I'm like, what do I do with all this information? How do you deal with those internal thoughts? Because I'm sure, obviously, you've hit the highest of highs, right? So for us little peons down here, how do you deal with just the full range of human emotion?
Well, I think you have to really define success for yourself, because sometimes we measure success, and I just recorded a podcast about this as well. So, how do you define success for you? Sometimes you think, oh, it was it was an overnight success. No, it was a 20-year overnight success. So this is not, when you talk about overnight success, it's usually been 20 years in the making. So, but you want to define for you what success is, first of all, so you understand where you're at. And if you are doing what you absolutely love to do, and you are doing what you feel called to do, that's very successful if you are able to do that. And part of that for you is doing your podcast. It's wonderful. So, and part of it, I enjoy doing my podcast. I love doing my podcast. It doesn't make money, but I love doing it, and I'm helping people. And so that's just really very fulfilling. It's one of the things, that we add on to our plate. But as far as ideas, now, if you asked my husband this question, he would actually laugh, because if you say, okay, so does Deborah ever run out of ideas? Does she ever? He would say, oh, no. Well, the reason I probably sound like I have a lot of ideas, and I do, but I write down those thoughts, because if you don't write them down somewhere, have some sort of system to do that, they will be gone. And the older you get, the harder it is to remember those between 1 minute and the next. And you think, oh, wasn't I just thinking of something profound? So you have to put those down. And when I'm even planning, once in a while I'm thinking, okay, so I want to be, part of what my core value is that I want more freedom of time and space. And it's kind of what Tim Ferriss was after with the 4-hour work week.
Yeah.
Wanting a lot more of that freedom. And I wanted to do a little bit more travel. I've traveled a lot for business, but just, with my husband at this point in the life. So, I automate a lot and get, way ahead so I can schedule it and I can be totally free and my business keeps going. So, but when you're doing that, you're thinking, okay, so how am I going to keep interesting for these weeks when I've got, and all of those subjects. But when you keep writing those things down and putting them down in some sort of format, you won't run out of ideas. And another thing is really, I'm talking a lot here, but
you're good,
is to listen and to read. Because Hal David with Bacharach and David, with all of those hit songs they did, I heard Hal David speak before we lost him, of course, but he, an amazing, prolific lyricist. And he said, for every word you write, I think he said you need to read 2,000 words to, for all of it. So we have to have some sort of influx in our life to be able to be creative. And it's, by whether you're listening, whether you're reading, I love physical books, of course,
Right.
I write physical books, but you can have the physical books as well as the audio books and constantly be able to have that influx. And for a creative, that's extremely, extremely important. And not just, be on the social media and be on the, watching maybe mindless shows or whatever. Sometimes those are good. Those are fine. We need a break, but to also watch all of the things that you're ingesting in your life as a creative. And that's been very, very important to me. And when I'm writing something, I work extremely hard and I'm studying and I'm looking at other things that have been done. And it really helps me in even being more creative and more succinct in what I'm doing. That was a long answer, but
I like it. I like the long answers. Look, do you think that that's the missing link? So you talked about for every word you have to, I guess, have read 2,000 words. For every word that you kind of want to express, right? That there's needed educational element to it,
right?
And I think art is educational. I think there's an element of educational infusion that is entwined with art. And I think that something that is missing from society is that we don't take the time to ingest knowledge, like true, like book, like actually go through the story. I think, we look for the Spark Note version, the Twitter version. I need the 15-second highlight reel. You got to convey this message in 15 seconds or less, or else I'm turning. And it's hard to tell a story, in a 15-second TikTok video, right? Like I feel like it robs the experience, because in 15 seconds, what type of emotion can you conjure and then sit in, right? Like that you can actually fully embrace it. I just feel like there's a play on it. So with the lack of that space being needed, like I wonder, and I always say this, a lot of people have seen Lord of the Rings, J.R.R. Tolkien, a lot of people have seen the movies. I wonder, out of that percentage, how many people have actually read the books, that inspired the movies, and it can't be 50-50. I guarantee you it's not 50-50. But how do we bring back the true nature of reading?
Oh, that's a $1 million question. I'm sure almost every educator would love to know. I think we have to, part of the teaching that I have done in music for so many years, and now that I'm doing with some of the other training and the speaking, is more on the inspirational level. And what I say is I'll explain that. And in music, you have to teach the technique. You have to teach the chords. You have to teach the notes. And, I was born with an ear. That's probably some of that natural talent. And that's why I've played and worked in that field forever as a vocalist and a pianist and professionally. But more than important than just teaching notes and just teaching technique is inspiring somebody to learn and developing the love of music. And I think developing the love of books, the love of literature, and when people are engulfed in that more, I mean, I've been more interested in history now because of some of the places that we are visiting and some of the historical landmarks. Well, I want to know more about those, or some of the politics that are going on in our country. I want to know more about our Constitution and listening of the sacrifices that our founding fathers made, and how smart they were. Oh my goodness, they were smart, but they fought for that, and they fought for the balance of power and all of that. And
what's up? I'm super pumped. Just got done with another workout. It's your boy CVMK33, connected on Instagram and on the business page, CVMK_global. You know how I get through it. You know how I get that pump looked. Best pre-workout on the market, www.cvmkglobal.store.
So as we are engulfed in some of this, we see how important it is to inspire people to learn for themselves. And that's why in our education, not just giving the book learning, because I wasn't very interested in history when I was, growing up. I was more interested in the guy that was sitting in front of me. I had a crush on, and that, that was my history class in junior high. But I've been a lot more interested at this point. And, I just interviewed one of our congressmen. So, of course, I did a little research before that, and writing the article for that, I definitely did research with all the quotes that he quoted. And it was very interesting and fascinating to me. So I think inspiring and developing the love and the thirst for learning is a big deal. And that's missing a lot when you have to just throw all of these other things that they have to do. And where's the inspiration? Where's the love of that learning, that love of lifetime learning? I mean, that's what it takes as an entrepreneur to constantly be creative. There's the love of learning, the love of growing. So that's a big part of it.
That's true. There's a love, and then I think also the acceptance that miracles happen in bite-sized moments. Mm-hmm. This is my faith background speaking. Sometimes I think of the scripture, and this isn't as when the disciples looked upon the fig tree, they saw that the fig tree was dried up, right? Like when they remembered back, right? Like it didn't happen instantaneously. When they came back and they realized, remember what Jesus said, and it was there. And I start to think that maybe the way that we have made kind of society work is like everything has to be instant, like today. Like no, like I need my Uber Eats today,
Right,
and
right.
Yeah, the prime delivery, like we expect it now, and when it doesn't happen now, we get frustrated and we want to throw in the towel. But miracles happen in bite-sized moments, and that's a hard lesson to say, that it might take you 20 years, right?
Right.
And because it doesn't sell, it's not cool. You're not gonna become Insta famous if you say it might take you 20 years. That video won't be watched, right? So you got to say, in 20 seconds I can change your life. Then it's like, I'm 20 seconds. I'm watching this, So it's kind of this cool little thing. My last question, Deborah, thank you so much for being on here. I want to ask this, as someone who has accomplished these amazing things, written musicals. I mean, you've been in your space, you've dominated your space. When do you feel like you've made it? Like at what point? Because you talked about according to your values, and I think everybody has a foundation of something, but I think there are moments when it feels like I know this is it? When did that happen for you?
Well, I think there was one point, a colleague of mine, we were talking, and it really dawned on me. She said, a lot of people are looking for stardom and for success. She said, we are so successful, and we both work with Disney, and we are working in our field. The 1% of the 1% work in our field. And I really realized at that point, it doesn't matter really what I do. I am successful at what I'm doing. And it doesn't matter how many books I sell. Doesn't matter how much music is downloaded. Doesn't matter how many speaking gigs I get. I have success in my life. And I know that I have success also because I'm making an impact on other people and on other leaders. I just had a Zoom call today with my lifetime group. They're a group of women that I put together probably about 20 years ago that I felt like I needed to have that accountability in my life for both business and my personal and my spiritual goals. And so these are women that are trusted women in my life, but I still have impact with them, although we kind of feed each other, that sort of thing. And there are a lot of others too, having different groups in our lives. So I think it's a very valuable exercise to sit down and say, what does success mean to me? Do I need to be a star? Not really. There are very few people that are at that level. And if you read about some of those lives, when they have such public lives, you might not want to go there. You don't have your privacy, you don't have your freedom anymore, all of those things. So define what success means to you. And especially, I am at, my main audience are those who are at mid-career, at the halftime of life, which is officially over the age of 40. It comes faster than we think. And for those also experiencing shifts in the economy and change. So at this point, people start thinking more about significance than just success. And what sort of significance, what are you leaving? What sort of legacy are you leaving? It doesn't have to be huge. But some of the legacy that I can leave would be my writing and my books. I just came out with my 5th, and some of the products that I have that are available for licensing, all of those things, other things, my kids, as I said, they'll find them. We've raised 3 sons, and they'll find them and they'll be in the dumpster. I mean, what do you do with it? What do you do with it all?
Sure.
But success, defining that for you. And if you are happy doing what you love to do, it's not about the money. It's not about the fame. It's about how those valued friendships, those valued relationships, the lifestyle. And after losing both sets of parents, I'm still married. The man I married a number of years ago, met him on a blind date, but we lost both sides on our parents within 5 years. Well, so then you realize, okay, I think we're next, and as you're going during that journey. And there's things that we want to do at this point in our life. And I still want to work. I think I can work until, my kids put me in a home somewhere, but I probably, I don't know, it depends how long we keep our bodies and our minds. And with the increase in longevity right now, I'm reading more of these studies. It's amazing what they're doing medically. So you don't know. I mean, you may be able to live clear into your hundreds. So, but thinking about, what you're loving to do, and have you put off those dreams? And I say, really think through those. And if you're able to really do some of those things that you absolutely love to do, sure, you may just still have to work that job and everything else, but it makes it worth it if you're able to do some of those other things that you've always dreamed of doing. So that, I think that is a very good, I don't know how we measure that completely, but it's a good measure stick for us.
I like it. I like it. Your story reminds me of mine. It's crazy. I met my wife on a blind date as well, and she said yes. So I mean, it worked out. So it worked. Deborah, you have been absolutely amazing. Where can the people connect with you and support you?
Well, you can always get to my podcast, womenathalftime.com, and that's a lot of fun. But I have a number of websites because I've been in a number of things of music, of course. People love that one. But Deborah Johnson Speaker, that is one. Goalsforyourlife.com is another, and you can get onto my newsletter. I would really urge you to get on my newsletter. I put out an article I have for over 20 years weekly. And you can get there, goalsforyourlife.com/newsletter. And then, of course, everybody wants to go to the music, djworksmusic.com. And I've got a YouTube channel. You can get to all the links anywhere. And I really encourage you to. I don't like to promote big time on all these other podcasts. But this is my fifth book, and it's an allegory, which is a story within a story. And you were talking about movies versus reading. And I wanted to read some allegories and some stories. So instead of just watching all the Harry Potter movies, because I thought, oh, those are, because this has a little bit of that magical fantasy in it a little bit. Mm-hmm. A realistic fantasy, I should say. That's the term. But I read all of the books. And the last one is 800 pages. So they are, I can't believe somebody can write that many pages. So, but they were fascinating to read the books. And then I watched the movies. And it's really fascinating how, how great it was to read the words. And it's inspiring for me. And this is it was a fun book to write, difficult book to write because I wanted it to be short. It's not a real long book. But it's very fun. It talks about the journey to Hero Mountain and how Mallory, her name starts Mallory, which means ill-fated. And she has to change her name at the end to even get to her summit and change her language. And it changes to Andriette, which means strong and courageous. And so she has to go through all of these different lands and these different areas to be able to be strong enough then to even climb her summit. So, yeah. But you can find all of that if you get on my newsletter and go to my website. So thank you for letting me expound. I get so excited about things that will mean a lot. It's on Amazon. You can find all the versions on there. But I get excited about what will really help people and move them forward in their life with confidence, with courage, and with taking risks.
Perfect. Y'all connect with Deborah. Buy the book, The Summit. It's on Amazon. So you can get, if you have a Prime member like myself and you get charged that fee, you can get it in 2 days. Go to all the websites, go to the podcast, the YouTube channel, subscribe. And if you want to keep seeing amazing people, amazing just gifts to the human body, like Deborah, you know what you got to do? You got to connect with me on Instagram at CVNK33. Hit the business page up. Go to the website, www.cvnkglobal.store. Subscribe to the YouTube page at YouTube at CV Space K. Until next time, guys.